What if winning was actually the beginning of your downfall? What if the moment you thought it was over was the moment everything started to go wrong? Because Gideon had already won the battle. The enemy was defeated. The battle was over. The dust had settled. But the real test was just beginning. Come with me back into the story. Gideon had already won the battle. The Midianites were scattered. Their power was broken. But the story didn't end there, because two kings were still running. Their names were Zebah and Zalmunna, the men behind years of fear, years of raids, and of sufferings. So Gideon kept going. He pursued them with the same 300 men. But this time, things were different. They were tired, exhausted, hungry, running on nothing but determination. So as Gideon chased them eastward, he came to a town called Sukkot. These were his own people who had also suffered under Midian. So Gideon asked them for bread. His men were weary, and the kings were still ahead. But the leaders of Sukkot hesitated. They wanted proof before they committed. They wanted certainty before they helped. In other words, if Gideon failed, they didn't want to suffer for it. Gideon understood, and he warned them. He said, when the Lord delivered those kings into his hands, he would return, and their refusal would not be forgotten. Then he moved on, still hungry, still pressing forward. Not long after, he came to another town, Penuel, and once again, he asked for help, and once again, he was refused. So Gideon warned them too, that when he returned in peace, the tower they trusted for safety would be torn down. He didn't argue, he didn't stay, he kept going. He followed the kings deep into enemy territory. He struck them when they felt secure and defeated what remained of their forces. And finally, Zebah and Zalmunna were captured. The kings who once ruled in power now stood bound before a man who once hid in fear. Gideon brought them back, and then things became personal. He asked them about men they had killed before, men at Mount Tabor, and when they described them, Gideon revealed the truth. Those were my brothers. This was no longer just a battle. This was family. And Gideon executed the kings. Then he returned, first to Sukkot and then to Penuel. But this time, he wasn't asking for help. He came with authority. And scripture does not hide what happened next. The leaders of Sukkot were punished. The tower of Penuel was torn down. The warnings that Gideon gave were fulfilled. And finally, the land grew quiet. For the first time in years, Israel could breathe. And in that silence, the people began to look at Gideon differently. They didn't see just a deliverer anymore. They saw strength, they saw stability, leadership, and they asked him to rule over them. Not just him, but his son and his grandson after him. They wanted a king, a leader they could see. But Gideon refused. He told them, I will not rule over you. My son will not rule over you. The Lord will rule over you. Those words honored God. But then Gideon made a request. He didn't ask for a crown. He didn't ask for a throne. He asked for gold, an earring from each man's share. And the people agreed. They spread out the garments, and one by one, they dropped the gold. Gold from many hands, from many battles, until it became a great weight. From that gold, Gideon made an effort, something meant to represent worship, and he placed it in his hometown. At first, it may have seemed harmless, a reminder of victory, but slowly something changed. People began to come to it, to look to it, to treat it like it had something sacred. And scripture tells us plainly, it became a snare, not just to the people, but to Gideon himself. The same gold taken from the enemy became a trap for Gideon's people. Gideon lived many years after this. He had many sons, but there was one son born to him through a concubine in Shechem. His name was Abimelech, and his name meant something dangerous. My father is king. So even though Gideon refused the crown, the idea of kingship never truly disappeared. It lingered quietly. After Gideon died, Israel turned away again. They chased false gods. They forgot about the Lord who saved them. They forgot about Gideon's house. But Abimelech did not forget. And what he would do next would change everything, because some consequences do not come immediately. They wait. And when they rise, they do not whisper, they roar. Fear tests whether we will trust God, but victory tests whether we remember Him. Because God may raise you in hidden places, but He watches closely what you do when you're finally seen. This is Neka with Cause Bible Stories, where scripture comes alive. Subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode. Remain blessed.